So we got a surprise guest visit in the studio today. The one, the only, Chris Jericho of the band Fozzy. What's up, man?
It was such a surprise that we had to hang around outside. The security guard wouldn't let us in. And we were like knocking on the door, like, just let us in. He's like pointing at his phone, like, we're not getting in. I guess it's a Saturday morning here, so the security is hyped up and ramped up.
Did you not tell him who you were? Maybe throw him an elbow?
I just bust through the glass because that's what I do. I love when people's like, just because like every time somebody does something that I don't like, I just beat the shit out of them.
I mean,
right?
yeah, you could.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right, exactly.
So you got a show a little bit later tonight at First Ave, and you've played there before, right?
No, never played First Ave. We've played a couple shows here in the past. I think we played a place called Mill Station or something. Mill City Nights, yeah. But First Avenue, obviously a very prestigious, legendary place. Oh, yeah. You know, so we're excited about it because when you get a chance to play like rooms like First Avenue or like the Whiskey or, you know, the Forge and Joliet, places where everybody goes and has a history and a legend behind it, it just makes it extra special for the show that night.
For sure. Have you been there before?
No, I've never been there. I've never even walked past it. I mean, obviously I've seen Purple Rain a dozen times and heard about First Avenue and all that sort of stuff, but never actually been there.
Yeah, see, I just moved here from Detroit back in February, so I've never been there until probably a few months ago, and it is really one of those venues that's just so cool the way
it's a classic place,
it's set up, and it's just like legendary.
As soon as we saw it on the bill, like it sometimes it takes a while to get into a place like that, a venue like that, and we've played different little shows around here in different little clubs. And like I said, the Mill City Station was a great place. But to get to First Avenue, if you're playing Minneapolis for a band of our level, you need to be playing in First Avenue. So it's like a bucket list mission accomplished for us tonight.
Right. That's awesome. So we'll talk about the show in a little bit. But you mentioned that you've been here before in Minnesota. Do you have any favorite memories maybe?
I come up here all the time because my wife is from Hibbing.
Okay.
Yeah. So most summers we go up to Lake Vermilion. Up there, kind of in the wilderness, and the Iron Range, Chisholm, and you know, kind of the Duluth area and that sort of stuff. So all the time I'm up here, which is great. And as far as Minneapolis, I mean, it's a great wrestling town. It's a great rock and roll town. I remember coming here when I was a kid to Valleyfair. I grew up in Winnipeg, so it was the big, you know, destination vacation spot to go to Valleyfair, and you could do like karaoke in a booth, and they would record it on a cassette, and you would keep the cassette. And I still have the cassette. We did, me and my metal friends, we came down here and we did Straight Up by Paula Abdul because we thought that'd be super heavy to kind of take the piss out of Paula. But yeah, so Minneapolis has been very much part of my life for years and years and years because of growing up just basically up the road 8 hours.
So Minnesota is a suburb of Canada, essentially.
Basically, yeah, exactly, right? The Gophers and all that stuff. And then it's so funny, like, you know, when the movie Fargo came out, and, you know, it's called Fargo, but it's basically all about, you know, the cities and the accents and all that stuff. And people are getting so mad, like people from Minnesota, like, we don't talk like that. I'm like, no, you do.
Yeah.
You really do, because Winnipeggers talk like that as well. When you get that, hey, how's it going? Hey, like, what's going on, man? You want to have a couple beers? Hey, you betcha, like that sort of stuff. It's like totally what, you know, what the cities and northern Minnesota people sound like. So it was kind of funny to know that, you know, this is real.
Right.
And you're right now within the 4-block span where the like 80% of that movie was shot, because you can see, like, right down that street right there is where a lot of the alley things were. The other end, I don't know if you guys do drive up 5th coming in.
I don't know. We were on the tour bus, so you just kind of sleep in your bunk until you pull up.
Gotcha, because 3 blocks down that way is like where the strip club was where they first meet at in the beginning of it. So so you're in the epicenter.
That's
of Fargo,
cool. Filmed right here, the Fargo set.
So you mentioned wrestling in Minneapolis being a good wrestling town, and you obviously being a huge WWE superstar. Is it different going on stage than, you know, performing as a wrestler?
No, you just nailed it. It's performance, right? So whether it's wrestling or music, or if you're a comedian or whatever, the most important thing when you're in front of a live audience is to connect with them. And if you can do that, you'll always have a great show. So there's a lot of similarities between the different elements that you would use on stage or in a ring. It's just being a party host and making sure that people have a good time.
Yeah. Now, do you have different like pre-show rituals from wrestling and for, you know, rocking out?
No, not really. I mean, it's like I said, you have to be like larger than life when you go into a ring or on stage. Like, to me, I was always attracted to the greatest frontman of all time. Talking about Freddie Mercury, whose birthday was just a couple days ago, or Paul Stanley, David Lee Roth, Bruce Dickinson, those type of guys. The guys that can take you on a ride. Mick Jagger, take the crowd in the palm of their hand and kind of, like I said, lead you through this show. And it's the same thing with the great performers in wrestling too. Wrestling isn't about having great matches or anything like that. It's about connecting. It's about having a character that people can get behind. And it's the same thing with music. You have to have a character when you go on stage, because people don't want to see, somebody that's in the crowd on stage. You have to have a certain vibe. And like I said, take control and take command. And that's kind of what I do in all aspects.
Totally. Okay. So you got a cruise thing coming up.
A cruise thing. Yes,
yeah,
I do have a cruise thing coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Chaz was telling me about this because I hadn't heard about it, and it sounds phenomenal. Explain to me what exactly is going to happen on this cruise.
Yeah, well, we did the Kiss cruise about 3 years ago with Fozzy, and as soon as I got off the boat, I called my manager and I was like, dude, we need to do a cruise, a Chris Jericho cruise that's based around what I'm known for, music and wrestling, but also expanded to live podcasting and comedy and paranormal and all this sort of stuff that I'm into. And so I just started working on it with Six Man, who's the promoters of the Kiss Cruise and Walking Dead Cruise and all the big ones, Kid Rock. And it took me like 2 years to get it signed off and rolling. And we went on sale last September. And here we are almost a year later, and we're just weeks away from going. And, it's a success. I mean, it's very, very close to selling out. There's less than 100 cabins left. And all it is live wrestling on the cruise, on the middle of the sea. Rock and roll bands, everything else in between. And it was something that had never been done before. So I actually had to have a team of engineers come on board the ship to make sure that, the ring could be, tested and wouldn't slide over the edge. And I was like, dude, I was on the Kiss cruise. The ring doesn't weigh as much as a Kiss stage does. So I think we'll be okay. But still, it's never been done before. My idea is for this not to just be a one-off. It's to be an annual destination vacation for anybody who loves the same things that I love.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like you said it's only, wrestling and music, but that's awesome. That's what people like me, and I know Chaz really like to see.
It's stuff that like I like, and a lot of people that follow Chris Jericho enjoy the same things, and that's one thing I loved about the Kiss Cruise was there was so many activities on board. Like there was always something to do. And that's what we've done with the Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager. Like there's so much stuff happening. I'm going to be so damn busy. I do 3 Fozzy shows. I'm doing the main event of the Alpha Club versus the Bullet Club. Me and the Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega, Cody, and Marty Skrull. Then I'm doing Awards of Jericho, which is kind of like a one-man show. Then I'm doing a live podcast with the Bullet Club, a live podcast with Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, a live podcast with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I'm marrying somebody. Like anything that's going on, I'm cleaning the toilets, and the balcony deck, like whatever needs to be done, I'll be doing
the poop deck.
The poop deck. Yeah, I was trying to stay away from the obvious, but I should have went for it.
Well, yeah, I like that low-hanging fruit.
For it. Yeah, exactly. Right.
But let's go back. Let's talk about the show tonight over at First Staff. Who you got opening up for you?
It's a great package, man. Whenever we do a tour, because there's so many bands touring, you want to make it a great night of rock and roll. So we got Adelita's Way as the main support, who have 20 top 40 hits on rock radio, which is unbelievable. And then we have a band from England called Stone Broken, who's a great rock and roll band. And then a band from Atlanta called The Stir, who will blow your socks off as well. And we make sure to listen to all these bands. I mean, obviously Adelita's Way we know, but I don't just take on any band. Like it has to fit the package and the vibe of what Fozzy is. And we're rock and roll with a smile, man. We make sure that people have a great time at a Fozzy show. It's like Van Halen in 1981 when we are the show. We don't have dragons flying from the ceiling or pyro going off out of the drummer's rear end. This is like we put on the show. We're the energy, the electricity, the excitement that all comes from us. So we have a great time every night we play, and tonight's going to be a great show. Because of the location, we're getting close to selling out. It's going to be a great crowd. So a Saturday night in Minneapolis with Fozzy. I mean, that's a rock and roll party for me.
In your second book, Undisputed, you mentioned the thrill of when you had the Japanese release of the Fozzy records and getting to write the additional liner notes and the expansion for it. Is it much of a different process when you're writing for the deluxe edition like that?
It's interesting because times have changed so much that, physical copies of albums and CDs, they're getting rarer and rarer. I mean, almost everybody's streaming. But it wasn't too long ago when you would put a lot of effort and detail into, you know, the expanded version, liner notes, meticulously writing the lyrics and thank yous. And it's kind of a lost art, you know, from my generation, when you would go to the record store and you would buy the LP or the CD and you'd open it up and read every lyric on the way home. You know, you would know the songs that you wanted to hear before you even put the record on, because you had a little bit of prep work, you know, taking the bus back home like I used to do. So, but I still believe in the concept of an album, that an album should start with, you know, one song and take you on a journey through the next 10 songs. So even though the concept of a record, aka CD or whatever you want to say, is kind of getting more and more, you know, archaic, I still think as long as one person appreciates the ebb and flow of a great record, that will still continue to do that. Because a lot of people say, well, you should just put a single out. And yeah, you should just put a single out, but I'd rather just put out an album, because that's the way it's supposed to be.
It's the full experience.
It really is. Like I said, like, you know, if you put on, I don't know, if you put on, let's say, Master of Puppets, or you put on Sgt. Pepper, or you put on
Music of the Elder.
Nevermind. Yeah, Kiss Me Softly. Yeah, well, the track listing's all messed up depending on what release you have. But if you listen to an album from start to finish, a classic record, it really does have an ebb and flow to it. And I think the worst thing about the streaming generation is kind of the shuffle. I'm guilty of it too. Put your music on shuffle and just let it play. There's nothing better than listening to a great record from the beginning to the end. And like I said, like, you know, Appetite for Destruction, it starts hot and it ends hot, and it goes through, you know, strikes and gutters and peaks and valleys on the way there. So hopefully that never goes away, because it still is a whole experience rather than just listening to a song here and there.
Yeah, and speaking of the times when it is to listen to a song, when you enter and made your way to the ring this past January at the Tokyo Dome, when you played the Fozzy song Judas.
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, that's the first time that you entered to a song that you yourself performed.
Yeah.
Was it hard choosing which Fozzy song to do?
No, it wasn't. I mean, it was actually, you know, always be closing, as Alec Baldwin says in Glengarry Glen Ross. We have been trying to get Fozzy into Japan for 15 years. We just can't seem to catch a break there, which it drives me crazy, because I've been to Japan 60 times, headlined the Tokyo Dome in January in front of 50,000 people. And my mindset was, this character in Japan is different from the WWE character. I can't use that music anyways, nor would I want to. So I need to use new ring music. And Judas, it's a hot song. People know it. It's got a great groove to come to the ring to, kind of what I also need is very important. But more importantly, 50,000 people are going to have to listen to this song, and they're going to know it. So that hopefully will help us in our quest to get to Japan. And, you know, it seemed to, I don't know if it worked in actually getting us there yet, but as far as a ring song, it's great. And it really is cool walking to the ring to, you know, a Fozzy tune in one of these huge giant, you know, stadiums or arenas like in Osaka. So it's a pretty cool moment for me as a performer as well.
Awesome. And I'm sure too, after so many years being such a big music fan, having the bootlegs of live shows that were at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, totally. I mean, absolutely, you know, and it was funny because in New Japan World, they have a streaming service. I guess they don't have the rights to play Judas. So it's like some weird, like, you know, generic rock music whenever you watch that match now. But if you saw it live, it was actually Fozzy Judas that we used.
Excellent. And since my side of the interview is airing on the hip hop station, you, Fozzy, recorded a song with Bone Crusher a few years back. How did that one come together?
Yeah, we did a song with Bone Crusher on the All That Remains record, and on the Judas record, we have Hiero the Hero. Sorry. It's a hard name for me to say. He did a track on a song called 3 Days in Jail. And why we used Bone Crusher and why we used Hiero the Hero is we like that element of having a rap vocal. And It's a Lie, which is the song Bone Crusher was. We also had a female singer. So I wanted to combine kind of a rock and roll singer along with a great soul singer like Tina Turner along with a rap part. And it just worked really well. And it took us, you know, 3 or 4 records later when we did 3 Days in Jail, it just felt right to have a rap part in there. When originally it was going to be Wale that did it, he did do it and it sounded great. But then Rick Ross wouldn't let him, I guess they're having some kind of a legal problem or whatever the hell it is that they were doing. So we couldn't use his track. So then Hiero came in kind of last minute and did an even better job. So, but there is a version of the Wale 3 Days in Jail out there somewhere. But we got real appreciation for the art form of being a great rapper. And I really learned that when we had Bone Crusher. I watched him in the studio just basically come up with stuff off the top of his head in accordance to whatever the riff was that we gave him. And same thing with Hiero. He did the same thing. So it's just really cool to see that art form and understand it, because a lot of rock and roll fans might not understand just how involved and how intricate it is to be a great rapper.
Yeah, and that's something I think you explained, and you did a great job on a couple years back on your Talk is Jericho podcast when you interviewed DMC. Like, just really
we were going to try and get DMC for that part too. But yeah, I've had DMC on. I've had Method Man on. Like I said, the thing I love about rap is not only like I said, the syncopation of the beat and the intelligence behind the lyrics, but they're all very charismatic people too. So even for me as an interviewer, as a conversationalist for Talk is Jericho, you don't really have to do much. You just kind of sit back and let them tell their stories. And both of them were just amazing as guests.
Excellent. Cool. So finally, and as mentioned, I know in your Kiss fandom, of course, for a long time, because you wrote for, was it Metal Edge magazine you wrote? Or
I did, yeah.
Metal Edge, yeah, way back in the day. So hypothetically speaking, I want to know what your take on Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park, and what would it take, and what changes would you have for a reboot of that with Fozzy?
It's funny because I've gone through a little bit of resurgence, because I have a group of guys called Team Tiger Awesome that do a podcast, and we did a watch along of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park where we played the movie and then commented on it, like they did like a director's track. And the first 20 minutes is pretty slow because Kiss isn't in it. But once it gets moving, it's actually really good. It's a really cool time capsule of the 70s. It's very cheesy and campy, but it's cool. Like the obvious stunt doubles and just the bad, special effects. But it's a really cool movie. And it's funny, like one of the guys said, he said, I wish there was only one Star Wars and 9 chapters of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park instead of the other way around. And the reboot would, nobody else could make that movie. You couldn't reboot it because the characters with the superpowers and the talismans and, all that sort of stuff, and Abner Devereaux, who makes the robotic werewolf monsters that jump out of the roller coaster to attack Kiss. Ace Frehley, who can do all these wicked flips. Like I said, you couldn't recreate that, but you could do a Fozzy movie. Maybe it'd be more of kind of maybe like a Scooby-Doo mystery or something along those lines, rather than a Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Hey,
always good. So
you never know.
Yeah. Thanks again so much for coming in. This has been absolutely tremendous.
Well, it's funny because this is for your hip hop station, right? And we've been listening the last couple of days with the diss tracks with Machine Gun Kelly and Eminem. And once again, like, I think in my wrestling mind that this is all a work, that they're actually working this together.
So do I.
And it's going to lead up to a stadium tour of Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly, where Kelly goes first, Eminem goes second, and then they do a rap battle for the finale. Like, they could sell out stadiums with that.
Totally.
And that's what I think. And if they're not thinking that, they should start thinking about
Absolutely. So much money there on the table.
So much money on the table. It's never been done before. Like, to actually have a diss battle and say, going into, listen, guys, I know you're going to talk bad about me, I'm going to talk bad about you, but let's go out there and see what we can do. No hurt feelings. Let's just go for it.
And then having the separate performances, and then before and culminating like a battle of the bands, so you get both that.
And do the wrap off, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as I heard that, I was like, as a promoter now with the cruise, and coming from the wrestling side of things, I'm like, oh, that's what they got to do. It'd be so great. So we'll have to wait and see.
Sweet. Or that's the next cruise. So.
Yes, the battle off cruise.
Well, have fun there, man, and enjoy First Ave.
Yeah, we're excited. It's like I said, I haven't even been inside yet. As the moment I got there, we had to go do a record store signing and then come talk to you guys. So I'm looking forward to just going there and drinking in the atmosphere for sure.
Absolutely. Doors open what time? Anybody know?
6 o'clock, let's say.
We'll just go with 6 o'clock.
Oh, he's got a poster right there. Doors open at 6. That's usually doors open at 6. First band goes on at 7. We go on at about 9:30.
Boom. So. Tickets still on sale, right?
Tickets still on sale.
Right, grab your tickets before it sells out. Fozzy, my man Chris Jericho, thank you so much for stopping by, man. It means a lot.
Appreciate it, man. And I'm glad that they let us in. Now hopefully they'll let us out.
Yeah, well, you might be stuck here now. We'll see.